Oh, well, Huelva has been more welcoming to me than any place I've ever been. It has cultural riches and natural beauty, but it's really the people who are so charismatic, so caring, interested in what they do, and working to make Huelva a more vibrant city. And I felt at home here from the moment I first arrived in 2019. I was surprised and so honored and very excited because I love everybody here, and I'm so honored to now be a part of this great city. Oh, that could take a long time to answer. Well, I know Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney because she's my great-grandmother. She was a woman who grew up with great wealth and great privilege. She was fortunate to be well educated. Her parents thought that was important for her. She was educated first by a governess, and then she was able to go to school later on, to high school. And then she married at a quite young age and quickly realized that she wanted more from her life. And she had always been interested in making art. She drew, and she was also a prolific writer. And she thought hard about how she could make a difference in the world. And she decided, she wrote a lot about this in her journals, which was quite uncommon in the early 20th century for people to journal. I know it's a big thing today, but it was not really back then. But she wrote a lot in her journals about who could she get help from, how could she learn more about helping other artists. And she had spent a lot of time in Europe and understood that European artists were recognized in a way that American artists were not. And she decided that the way that she was going to make a difference was to help contemporary American artists. Now, at the same time, she was also interested in making her own art. And she was fortunate enough to be able to hire teachers and studio assistants, and to have wonderful studios that her husband was quite supportive of her constructing. So she was decided that she would work in sculpture, and she gradually built the Whitney Museum of American Art in New York, and also had a sculpture career, which was very unusual for women in the first part of the 20th century. And as you know, eventually she came to Huelva, and the Columbus Monument here is one of her most important sculptures, and certainly one of her largest. Oh, that's a tough question. I would say that we are just beginning to recognize the contributions of the vast contributions of women in art history. I think certainly over the years women have been less valued in art history, and of course it was, I think men by and large have this reputation, you hear about the macho artist with a wife who may also be an artist but spends most of her time supporting her husband. And it's coming to light now that these women were quietly making great contributions in their own way while supporting their husbands. So they were sort of doing double duty. And it's all going to come out now over time that women really do play a very important role in the art world, and I'm certainly confident that today there are many, many important women artists. But Gertrude felt that women were not getting the attention that they deserved, and that she was at a disadvantage being a woman. Miss Whitney's sculpture is called the Columbus Monument, and the monument represents Christopher Columbus, who set off on his journeys to America from nearby. And it was thought by an American who came here in the first years of the 20th century that there should be a monument to Columbus here in the same way that there is a Statue of Liberty in New York. This American recognized deep connections between America and Huelva, and he was an associate of my great-grandmother's husband, and he came back to New York and said, we must do something about this. And so eventually Gertrude received the commission to make this sculpture, and she worked on it in her studio in Paris, and then she came here and spent quite a bit of time here. And so it represents the explorer, and there are also some small reliefs that represent the four corners of the globe. And it also represents this idea of a relationship between Spain and America. It has this iconic quality that I think everyone who sees it recognizes. It's so vast, and it has become the symbol of Huelva, this iconic symbol over time. Absolutely. I think most people that I meet here, first of all, they're very interested in me, which is gratifying, and want to know what I think about the relationship between Huelva and America. And it is an extraordinary and deep relationship that seems to encompass history and culture and natural resources and all sorts of things, but I certainly think it's valued. Oh, I would love that. I feel that there could be certainly exhibitions organized from the Whitney Museum's collection that could come to a Museum of America in Huelva. For a formal agreement, I'm not sure how much sense it makes. I think the Museum of America in Huelva should act on its own, independently of any organization. But I do think that there will be an interest on the part of the Whitney Museum in New York to do a lot of collaborating. Well, first of all, I had no idea when I first came here that Washington Irving even had a big role in bringing awareness of this part of Spain to Americans. And so I was delighted to hear that. Of course, it makes me very proud and makes me feel even more connected to Huelva than I already do through all of you. But it gives me a sort of historical basis for feeling even more devoted to Huelva, which I so love.